This is Motherhood Unmasked, the podcast for you, the mom battling the effects of your childhood trauma. I'm your host, Vanessa Harris, and I'm so glad you're here. Pace. It's not a word often thrown around in mom circles. Moms are all about getting all the things done for our kids and family as a whole, and maybe throw ourselves in there a bit too, but getting all of it done when we don't seem to have enough hours in the day. And so to the mom already feeling behind, the word pace might actually be a cuss word. And if you're not careful, when you approach healing from your childhood trauma, you may apply that sort of harried pace to your expectations of how quickly you will heal, assuming you make the decision to take time to heal. If in your mind you think, fine, if dealing with these wounds from my childhood will help me be more effective, great. Let's get that done so that I can get on with my life. I hate to break it to you. That's not how healing works. Healing takes as long as it takes, and we often don't know how long it will take until we get in there to assess the wound, to see how deep it is, how wide it is, how long it's been there, and how it's affected the surrounding tissues or issues in your life that really assess the treatment required, and to even estimate how long healing may take. And while the prospect of that is uncomfortable, the truth is, once you begin your healing journey, you don't know what you'll uncover or how you'll respond. I'm a crier. I cry during movies. I cry when I'm angry. I cry when I feel the presence of God. I'll cry if I see you cry. And knowing I'm a crier, it didn't make sense how frustrated I'd get in therapy sessions when I cried. It's not that what I said didn't merit tears. I felt frustrated that something that happened so long ago still hurt. In my mind, okay, we talked about that enough already. Why am I still crying? My expectation as an accomplishment-driven person was, once addressed, let's check that off the list and go on to the next thing. But I'm not a list of household chores to be accomplished. I'm a layered human being, which, like you, makes me complicated. So tempting as it is to just plow through and get it over with already, you can't. You didn't get over the traumatic experience when it happened. You tucked it away because it overwhelmed you. There's no telling what you'll have to face now that it's been buried for years. Imagine a man who fell ill and died and has been buried for the last 4 days. Better yet, picture this happening thousands of years ago before modern embalming practices, though the mourners carefully wrapped him in cloths spiced with fragrance for his burial. Imagine him miraculously walking out of his tomb, alive yet still wrapped in those cloths. Imagine the smell. I bet he'd want to get out of those stinking rags as quickly as possible. I mean, excited by the prospect of a second chance at life, he'd want to get on with it, free from the past. The problem is his arms are wrapped up. He needs people to unwrap him, and removing those layers takes time. Like it or not, convenient or not, he has to endure the smell of the parts of him that died while he anticipates living free. That man's name is Lazarus, and Lazarus had to move at the pace of grace. While they unwrapped him, I bet he remembered his suffering. The pain, the loneliness, the hopelessness. And maybe he asked those tending to him to hurry up and get these burial rags off. But just like it took time for him to get wrapped up in an unpleasant scenario, it will take time to get unwrapped. The wounds you suffered as a child were as traumatic to your soul as the gory wounds of a trauma victim rushed into an emergency room. And you can't put a Band-Aid on something that requires layers of stitches. Not if you want to be whole. You are worthy of wholeness, not just healing. So that means putting in the work for as long as it takes and at the pace you can handle. This is not the time to look at the woman next to you and wonder why she needs fewer counseling sessions than you. You are not her. You didn't have her exact experience or to the same extent. You didn't have it the same duration, nor were the same players involved. And you don't share her childhood family dynamic. So you can't compare the process. You have your own pace of healing for your set of circumstances, and you need to honor that. Run your own race of healing. And no one said it was a sprint. Yours may be a marathon. So expectation is everything on your healing journey. As I often say, misplaced expectation is the mother of all disappointment, and misplaced expectation is a playground for imposter syndrome. Digging through layers of coping mechanisms to deal with the trauma you worked so hard to bury is a tall order. The last thing you need is imposter syndrome yapping in your ear. You feel stuck because you're a hopeless fake. You don't really want to heal. You can't change, and this is all a waste of time. You deal with all that noise by revisiting your expectations. You're not racing against anyone or some imaginary clock. You're on a personal journey, and it's not always about big leaps. Sometimes you can only manage baby steps, but any step you make toward breakthrough, big or small, is one worth celebrating. Give yourself grace to move at the pace necessary for you, and allow the person or people removing your layers to encourage you when you feel discouraged about the pace, because sometimes you do get weary in well-doing. You need a cheerleader to remind you of the progress they're seeing and how courageous you are for persevering. Because look, you've come this far because you're a survivor. You are stronger than people gave you credit for, and now you're building on that strength. If you know anything about weightlifting, form is more important than the speed of your reps. In fact, speed will increase your risk for injury. So slow down and go into your healing journey expecting to readjust your expectations of yourself and the process along the way. And when you feel discouraged, be honest with your counselor. It's the perfect opportunity for your counselor to not only help you reset expectations, but encourage you around the strides you've made so far. I hope this episode encourages you to press on. Healing while living is exhausting. And in future episodes, we'll unpack that some more. But I'm so proud of you. I'm grateful you joined me today, and I pray that something I shared today resonates with you and empowers you to keep going, and to keep going at the pace of grace. You can find a little homework assignment associated with this episode on our website at motherhoodunmasked.com/episode 63. I hope you'll stop by. And until next time, please remember, when it comes to you being the mother of your children, you are the woman for the job. Take care. Thanks so much for hanging out with me and making Motherhood Unmasked part of your day today. If you would, go ahead and hit the follow or subscribe button so that you know when new episodes air, and so that other moms will be able to find out about the show. Motherhood Unmasked is brought to you by Vine Life Faith, where we're breaking negative cycles and building healthy community through connection with Christ. VineLifeFaith.com. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast should not be taken as medical advice. The content here is for informational purposes only, and because each person is so unique, please consult your healthcare professional for any medical questions.